He writes, Gail Kim did a promo where James Storm showed up. Storm is good at being the drunken asshole redneck character. Storm bullied her and gave her 1 week to decide what to do. Basically, go back to the family's Korean restaurant waiting tables or manage him. They kept emphasizing how TNA doesn't have a women's division, so clearly the end of the story is they will have a women's division. They can't afford the time for it at this point, and they're also way behind the curve. Unfortunately, people have been womened to death. Nobody cares about seeing women wrestle as a novelty. If they're good, there's nothing wrong with them, but to do it for the sake of doing it isn't going to make any difference. What do you think of Dave Meltzer's words there?
Dave's a hater. He's an early adopter hater of TNA. If TNA would have said it was sun shining, Dave would have said, nope, it's raining, regardless if he looked at the weather report. Dave was, and I didn't really realize it until we got it doing this podcast, how much of a hater, how much of a critique. But you kind of have become a lot better listener over the 8 years. When he published one time that there's only been 2 promoters that never subscribed to his newsletter, Don Owen and Jeff Jarrett, I went, ooh, there's your sign. Dave's Dave.
No, expand on that.
He just look. I have the luxury of looking back, but Dave's narrative on TNA was always very, very, for the most part. Now you can find bits and pieces. He will, for the most part. But he made sure his readers and listeners, and maybe it was a Russo thing, maybe it was a Russo Jarrett, maybe it was, hey, I perceive that they didn't treat Jarrett. He didn't know a freaking clue about the real story. I perceive that they maybe didn't show him the proper respect, but you can just go back and look through history. Kurt Angle's never had a 5-star match. What? And Kurt said himself his best work was in TNA. I mean, you just little bits and pieces. So anyway, I don't know exactly where you mean to expand on it, but.
Well, you said there's 2 promoters who've never subscribed, Don Owen and Jeff Jarrett, and you said, oh, here's your sign. Tell me about that.
He knew that I didn't subscribe, not only physically, but to his line of thinking. He that I didn't give much, all due respect, and maybe it's a Jarrett ingrained, the quote, it's not the critic that counts, it's the man in the arena. And I was always the man in the arena, and the metrics I've always gone after my entire life are the real numbers, ratings, box office, merch sales, tangible things, not opinions. Now, of course, you got to listen and take it all in and all that. And look, we've talked about it. Had I played the PR game better, like a lot better with Dave, I think the narrative on TNA would have been radically different, like radically different. And Mike Tenay and Meltzer have been good friends all through the years. He was always very complimentary of Mike. Well, the perception, and I think Mike did what he could do through the years, but sometimes the perception that Mike is more of a traditionalist in professional wrestling. So anything Russo touched, it was negative. Just kind of the filters. Dave was never much he was never really a TNA supporter. And contrary, and look, I've said it, the buy rates sucked. But when you get the ratings we got, and Dave was always very, very dismissive of the ratings. Matter of fact, in hindsight, now that I've viewed this, I'm just like, well, damn, he never gave any credit. And the ratings, I dare say, the success story of TNA going from 1 hour on Saturday nights, 1 hour on Thursday nights, to 1 hour in prime, to 2 hours in prime, to doing between 1.5 and 2 million viewers week in, week out. That's a hell of a success story, no matter how you slice and dice it. And you take your rights fee and start at 75 and get to 250. You do the math better than that. That's that. In those days, way before the crazy streaming and all those kind of things. He was a success story under no matter how you slice it and dice it. But he didn't see it that way, and so his readers didn't see it that way. And so you have little comments like he said, right, to dial it back to the episode. Oh, to do women's wrestling, just to do women's wrestling. He's kind of playing armchair subjective critic. Again, that's what I'm saying. My dad taught me it, and I've subscribed to this day. Critics are critics. They're paid to do that. But I knew in 87 when he would write wins and losses from Selmer, Tennessee, and he had every finish completely wrong, I knew as a kid, somebody's probably feeding him the wrong results. That's okay. That's Dave's line of work. I know he wasn't there. So he gets bad information. That's the business he's in. He's in the critic, and he is to this day. He is an opinion, and he's made a shitload of money off of his opinion. So as a businessman, I really respect that. I do. I really respect that.
Let's get back on Gail Kim. One of the next people you're going to bring in to work with her, who's going to attack her, is Miss Jackie. I think at the time she's 41 years old, but you knew her from Memphis. You knew her from WCW. You knew her from WWE. And I know that you hold her in high regard. I think a lot of our listeners do. I don't know that all of our listeners know how well loved she is by the wrestling community behind the scenes. I've never met, quote unquote, one of the boys who didn't hold her in high regard. Why did you feel like she was the right person to work with Gail Kim here?
So I'm racking my brain, and I think one of the first times we were going to do the Gail Kim episode, I researched this. I don't know. Obviously, she got let go of WWE, so I'll just kind of leave it at that. When I knew we had the opportunity to get her, it was boom. Her just, it'll click. She's super talented. She can be a babyface valet because she punches like a babyface. She works like a babyface. But if you put her in the right roles, she can easily be a heel because Jackie understood the business at a real core level. Learned it in Memphis, paid her dues, understood how to win, how to lose, how to be a heel, how to be a babyface, well-rounded. She can be perfect for Gail.
Did you put Christmas on a credit card? Don't stress out about that extra holiday spending. SaveWithConrad.com can help you consolidate all of your high interest rate credit cards into one much lower monthly payment. SaveWithConrad.com has helped families just like yours save up to $800 a month. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. And did I mention no payments until March? So don't make saving money a resolution next year. Make it happen today at SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.